be continuing in Chapter 8 of Heritage Studies. Please turn your book to page 143. Farming in the Southern Colonies. Farming was the most important job in the Southern Colonies. This region had rich soil and a warm climate. Crops grew well there. They could be grown more months out of the year than in other colonies. People in Europe wanted tobacco, rice, and indigo. Farmers in the southern colonies saw that they could earn a good income through selling crops. They began to grow these 3 crops in large numbers. They shipped most of them across the ocean to Europe. Crops were often taken by river to one of the southern ports to be shipped to Europe. Turn the page to page 144. People in the southern colonies depended on their crops to make money. They called these important crops cash crops. And then there's a picture, kind of like a graph, of cash crops in the southern colonies. You see the map key. There's tobacco, rice, and indigo. This map shows the 3 main cash crops and where they were grown. Turn to page 145. Some farms grew into plantations because of the need to plant so many crops. The owners needed large numbers of workers to care for their fields. Plantation owners used thousands of Africans to work as slaves in their colonies. They wanted slaves because they could be bought and owned. Once a colonist had bought a slave, he could keep him for the rest of his life. Some colonists who owned plantations became very wealthy. The largest plantations were like small communities. Turn the page. Now on page 146, it's a different kind of page. I want you to look at what is laid out in front of us. It's kind of like a map of houses with numbers on it. Look at those numbers as I read the bottom of this page. Plantations were like small communities. They were usually built near a river. Number 1. So look at the number 1 on the page. The main house was where the owner and his family lived. Look at the number 2. Cooking was usually done by slaves in another building to protect the house from fire. Number 3. Look at number 3. Meat was salted and smoked in a smokehouse to make it last longer, since there was no way to keep it cold or frozen. They didn't have refrigerators to go and put their meat. Number 4. Look at number 4. Barns and storehouses held crops waiting to be shipped or sold. Look at number 5. The family's horses were kept in stables. Some plantations even had their own blacksmiths. A large plantation might keep several carriages in its carriage house. Look at number 6. Slaves lived in small cabins with dirt floors. Large plantations like this one might have housed hundreds of slaves. Number 7, the last one. Slaves washed clothes and linens for the owner's family in the laundry house. Clothes were soaked in a huge tub of boiling water and then rubbed on a washboard. They were wrung out by hand before being hung to dry.